And just like a bad penny, we're back. How do you like those onions? We said we would be. We don't like to let you down. Please, guys, don't forget, as we always say, to like, comment on and share the stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Duke, what are they doing with that bell, my friend?
Batter it.
Batter the bell. The bell's
allegedly.
A very sensitive instrument, to be fair. I don't know if battering would be a good idea.
Allegedly.
Fair enough.
Allegedly batter that bell. Maybe get some sort of audio recording or something.
Indeed, Neil. Yes, it's we keep bumping into each other. We don't do it on purpose. We're not stalking you, or are you stalking us? Maybe, I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, enough of this jollity.
So why are we here, Mr. Gates? What's
well? We've got that stuff about the match on Saturday out of our system. We've done that. Now we're talking about a match coming up tomorrow at London Stadium against, as it says there, Watford. Now, I'll be honest, I'm actually a little bit apprehensive about this, and I don't know whether I should be. Maybe not. I'd have been quite comfortable with this game taking place with Claudio Ranieri at the helm, because to be quite honest with you, despite the fact he's got a Premier League on his CV for a team that really shouldn't have won it, but they did. Magnificent achievement. I do kind of think he was the beneficiary of a lot of the good work that Nigel Pearson had put in previously, though, and he just sort of carried on. He was just quite fortunate in some respects. His record in the Premier League since then has been absolutely shocking. In the sort of like the last season before he got sacked at Leicester, going to Fulham, then to Watford. I think his win percentage was quite low. So I'd have actually been quite happy turning up at London Stadium to see West Ham against Watford under Claudio Ranieri. But he's not there anymore.
Is that a victim of his circumstance, though, Rob? Like, seriously, do you reckon Jose Mourinho with the players at Fulham, Watford, is he going to get a tune out of them?
Well, I'll refer to Fulham and say that when he was given the old Spanish Archer and Scott Parker got given the gig, I think they looked infinitely better straight away.
Yeah, but again, he's a victim of his own. The victim of his own success. He's
maybe.
But do you think play a certain way, and you can't do that with all the players? You know.
Okay,
Pep struggled at City to start with.
It's an arguable
his style.
Yeah, I mean, it's arguable. I mean, I just happen to think he's past his sell-by date, but there you go. But be that as it may, I'll put it this way. Would you have rather faced Watford under Claudio Ranieri or Watford under Roy Hodgson?
I think they're both footballing dinosaurs. And no disrespect to Roy Hodgson, I think he's overstayed his welcome at top-flight football.
So you don't think that he's really going to make much of a fundamental difference to them?
He's not going to make a fundamental difference because the players are the fucking same.
Fair enough.
And no disrespect to Watford fans, and I've spoken to a couple in the last 18 months. The players are dog shit there, Rob.
Yeah, they're not the best.
There's a lot of them that don't deserve to be gracing a Premier League football stadium.
Fair. Do you want to see my little team that I've put together?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, let's go for it. Right, I'll go full screen and get rid of that. Again, this is just my little bit of guesswork. This is what I think possibly David Moyes might put out. I don't think that Areola's going to retain his place on the back of that performance at Agbra. I thought he looked quite shaky myself. They really put crosses in and he didn't have too much of a Scooby as to sort of what was going on there. So I think Lucas Fabianski is definitely coming straight back in. I think Cresswell will start at left back. I think at right back, however, I think that David Moyes might make a decision there, and I think he might go with Ben Johnson. Could be wrong, but now the word is that Kurt Zouma, because we all panicked a little bit when he trod on the ball and slipped and started screaming and all the rest of it, and we all went, "Oh no!" I'm hearing that he's actually okay, but I'm not too sure that it would be a wise move to risk him this sort of soon after that particular incident. I would much rather him be rested and let him go in the following game against Leicester on Sunday, isn't it? Is it Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday,
Whatever.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it means that we've got to put Issa Diop in there again, Bambi on ice, alongside Craig Dawson, but needs must. Declan Rice and Thomas Soucek as the double pivot in front of them. Now, I don't know if you've heard this, but it looks like Lanzini's struggling with an Achilles injury. Yeah, and they also said that Arthur Masuaku's got a problem with his knee, and I'm like, he's got more than a problem with his knee, let me tell you. But so I suspect Pablo Fornals comes in as the number 10, and as we discussed earlier, he had a decent impact on the game on Saturday. Left side, I suspect it will be Ben Rama. Right side, it will be Bowen, and up top, Michail Antonio. What are your thoughts on that, Duke? Where do you largely agree with that, or do you see any curveballs coming?
No, I mean, listen, Moyes knows, doesn't he? He knows now where his bread's buttered. He knows where it all lies with regards to those players on the football pitch, and that's the team that he's going to choose. Now, personally, I think Zuma will play. My opinion. I think Moyes will look at the situation, and I think he will understand that Zuma's a must. Zuma's needed because if he doesn't, and we get shit shafted, people are going to ask questions as why he persevered with Diop and Dawson. And that's not going to be good enough for anyone in the grand scheme of things. That being said, Rob, right, you and I have discussed this offline a couple of times in the last week or two. It's going to be an atmosphere tomorrow night before the game. It's going to be an atmosphere in that stadium because there are going to be people that are miffed, pissed off, angry, and rightly so, considering the transfer window we've just had, considering the result we just had at Agbra. Okay, there's going to be an atmosphere in that stadium. I'm pretty certain of it. And if we go 1-0 down, as you've said, that's going to be really toxic. After what happened at the weekend, that pitch, that whole layout of this ground tomorrow will be incredibly toxic. The fans will turn against Moyes. The fans will turn against the owners. I have no doubt on this being the case. I know there are some people out that have said that it's not about the board anymore. It's about Moyes. It's Moyes' dithering, everything else. Yep. You want to know something? You want to know what else happens when you get on the backs of the board and everyone else? You get on the back of the players because you take your attention off the players. You take your attention off of what you're essentially what you're there for, and we're there as fans to support the 11 on the pitch and those on the bench, and to roar them into to victory, etc. By being a bunch of nasty fuckers to the board, creating a very toxic booing atmosphere. Listen, it's going to permeate the players. It is. I don't care what anyone says. Tomorrow, from that starting 11 and from the players that are going to be at that game, it needs to be a full force show of what we are, who we are, passion, drive, determination. We need to basically do exactly what I said we shouldn't do against Kidderminster on Saturday. We should go out there and we should humiliate Watford. We need to go out there and we need to embarrass Watford, to appease the fans more than anything else, to get the fans essentially back on side. Now, I'm not saying that if it happens, that we're not going to be anti-bold. Listen, we're all still anti-bold. Every single fucking one of us, apart from the idiots. And I don't say that lightly, apart from the fucking idiots that are still supporting the ball. But it won't take long to turn. It won't take long to turn. Listen, the players on that pitch have got to keep the fans away from that negativity. I really do believe that, and it's going to have to start on Saturday. It's going to have, sorry, not Saturday, tomorrow. Forgetting the day of the week. It's going to have to start tomorrow, Rob. Otherwise, we're going to see some nasty incidents, I feel, at the London Stadium in the coming weeks if things don't go well.
Yeah, I fear you might be correct, but we'll see. I mean, if we get off to a good start, happy days. But as I say, my fear is if we go in 1-0 down at halftime, or even if it's 0-0, 1-1, but we've looked like we've been labouring and Michail Antonio's blowing out of his arse and etc., etc., everyone will start going, see, we told you we should have bought a striker. So
yeah, listen, but listen, Antonio could score a hat-trick and be blown out of his arse after 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And fans are going to go, oh, if only we had a striker on the bench to give him a break, right? Listen, that issue's not going away anytime soon. It really isn't.
Yeah.
The issue will be strengthening at left back, strengthening at centre back, strengthening up top. The squad, not the you know what I mean. Not we've got to strengthen. And Kieran, we've got to be behind them. Sharky, I get what you're saying. The next comment down, so cheers, Rob. I get what you're saying. Yeah, we will be. And the players could give it their all and be really unlucky. Right? They could hit the post, they could hit the bar. We go in losing 1-0 at half time, despite the fact that we've dominated the game, the fans will turn. The fans will turn. Even if we've dominated the game and we're losing 1-0, the fans will turn. And my concern is we'll end up with another situation like a Burnley somewhere down the line. Not necessarily tomorrow, but somewhere down the line we'll end up with another Burnley.
Yeah, well, as I say, hopefully not, but all things are possible. Right, that is my best guess at the Watford team. Now, I think it's probably going to be 4-4-2, just because it's Roy Hodgson, basically.
Yeah.
I think that he will. I mean, he did bin Daniel Bachmann for the fixture against Burnley, which was a 0-0 draw, which Roy Hodgson got in his, I think that was his first game as their manager. And he's got rid of Bachmann. He's put in tried and tested. I don't know whether Ben Foster and he had crossed paths when Roy was the England manager. I can't remember, but I suspect they may well have crossed paths at some point. So he's gone back to a tried and tested Premier League performer in Ben Foster. I'm not saying that he's, David De Gea-esque or anything like that, but he's a reliable, solid enough goalkeeper. Back four, I suspect, will be Kamara, Samir, Cathcart, and Firmino. Then in front of them, four midfielders from left to right: Sima, Kayembe, Sissoko, the ex-Tottenham midfielder, and Kuka. And up top, I've gone for Joshua King and Emmanuel Dennis as their strike partnership. Not very often you see two out-and-out strikers up top. That might be something a little bit, I don't know about difficult for our defence to deal with, but certainly something unusual that they don't see too often. Your thoughts, Duke?
Listen, that forward line scares me, and it just does. Dennis is Denny. He's a good player. And listen, Josh King annoys the shit out of me, but again, he's one of those ones that just has a habit of popping up against us. He's not so regular Romelu Lukaku, him and Callum Wilson. I don't like it. Much. The other players there, Ben Foster. Is that Musa Sissoko? Is that Musa Sissoko?
It's Musa Sissoko, the ex-Tottenham player.
Bud, yeah, he's not a bad player. I think he's probably, no disrespect to him, is that the right level for him in Watford?
I think he's on the downward curve.
Yeah, and is it KMB? I've heard some
Yeah.
good things about in the middle of the park. Other than that, mate, going back to what you said about the teams that we've put out against Kidderminster, should be enough, right?
I said that the other day, and I feel very, very foolish.
Yeah,
I turned around and said, "Oh, we should be able to put out our second team," and I stand by that. I stand by that. We should be able to put out our second string 11 against a tier 6 team and expect that to be good enough to get the job done and look half decent doing it. But yeah, I listen. I suspect that we've got enough if we put out our strongest 11 and they take to the pitch with the correct attitude, and
there's the
provided that
key.
Roy hasn't waved his magic wand, I suspect that he will have used this international break to really drill that team. And the one thing that Roy Hodgson will do is he will get that team organised. He will get them resilient. They won't play open, free-flowing, expansive football. That's not going to happen. But they
Yeah,
could. Right. And my concern would be, like I say, if 45 minutes gone, 0-0, 60 minutes gone, 0-0, 70 minutes gone, 0-0. Do you know what I mean? And as you say, despite the fact, all right, we might not be losing the game, but we start to sort of, you start to hear little murmurings of discontent, grumbles, people sort of making comments. This is why you should have bought a striker. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Elliot reckons it's going to be 2-0 West Ham, though. That being said, that's good prediction, Elliot. Good prediction.
3-1.
3-1.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go as a score prediction. And you guys in the live chat, please feel free to chuck in your score predictions. I'm going to go 2-1. I think this is going to be a little bit of a dogfight. I think this is
Yeah, I
going to be a
mean,
bit more difficult than maybe, like I say, we played them just before New Year, 4-1. I think that we're going to be made to work a little bit harder. Exactly what Kieran says there. He'll have them organised. We will have to break them down. Something we're not good at. That's my
yeah.
concern. When
Well,
when
I'll
we've
get
got
that. Yeah,
teams that will be happy to sit back and play in front of us. Do you know what I mean? Or let us
yeah,
play in front of them. More to the point, they'll just sort of say, "Tell you what, you can have the ball. We're going to retreat. We're going to have two banks of 4, and we're going to be tight, compact. We're going to deny you the angles and frustrate you, and we're going to frustrate you for as long as we can." That it's exactly what Kieran says. We're not good at dealing with teams that play that type of football.
yeah.
So like I say, I'm going 2-1. I've got a few other little bits and bobs here. That's our head-to-head record, though, which gives us a
Yeah, you
little
can't
bit of
argue with that,
something to
can you?
grab onto, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can't argue with that, mate. That's some banging numbers there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you look at this is our last 10. Well, the last 4 have all been West Ham victories. Obviously, the last one being, as I say, on the 28th of December. But as I say, I'd have been more happy if this had have been against a Claudio Ranieri managed team than a Roy Hodgson managed team. Because, like I say, Claudio Ranieri, I think defensively hasn't got a clue,
Yeah.
but Roy Hodgson, he certainly does. I don't disagree with what you said earlier. They're both probably relics of a bygone age of football, but Roy Hodgson will make them hard to beat.
Oh, without a doubt. But I think I agree with Tom.
4-1. Well, I hope so. I hope so. As I say, I just got a little concern it's going to be a little bit of an attritional match, a little bit of we're going to have to dig deep. I think we got enough. Like I say, I think we will win, but I think this could be a really sort of game that you don't look back at with any sort of fondness and go, do you remember that game when we smashed Watford and we played free-flowing football? Don't think it's going to be like that. I think this is going to be a
No, it probably
really
won't.
turgid affair. Hope I'm wrong. That there's respective forms in both Premier League and in all competition. Not looking good for Watford, is it?
I mean, listen, I've got a feeling that the other game tomorrow will be interesting as well between Newcastle and Burnley, Newcastle and Everton. Sorry, and I think we could really put some problems for Watford in this. I can't see tomorrow the other game. Watford, Newcastle, Everton. A defeat for either side really makes things harder for them. Watford, Everton, if they lose to Newcastle tomorrow, they're going to be really dragged down into that mire. Whereas on the flip side to that, Newcastle, if they don't win that, they're going to find themselves really up against it again. With regards to we've spent all this money, but we need to stay up. But again, for me, it does come down to the fact that let's go out there. We've got to do a job. Let's worry about what we're doing.
Where do you think the game's won and lost, Duke?
For us in midfield,
Yep.
the two boys sitting there are going to have their work cut out with King and Dennis and supporting those two at the back, because if we don't go with Zuma, we're going to suffer with a lack of pace, which those two boys do have it in abundance. So the two sitting in front of the back four, they're going to be called upon tomorrow to support the back line. So for me, that's where it's going to be won and lost, whether or not it's the three boys further forward drop in to create more of a wall to shield, the other midfielders coming through, i.e., the two CMs. We might find ourselves up against it if we lose that midfield battle.
Yeah. I think that's where the game is going to be won and lost. I mean, like I say, if they go with who I think they're going to go with, as I say, Moussa Sissoko, decent enough player, but not a patch on Declan Rice for me. Only thing that still concerns me, Duke, and it's been something that's been there for a little while, in fairness. I still don't think that Thomas Souček and Declan Rice as a partnership is functioning as it did last season. I know Declan Rice's role has evolved, but it just seems that it's been at the expense of Thomas Souček getting forward and getting on the end of moves and sort of like making those late runs. It just doesn't seem to be happening as regularly as last season. I mean, is that a concern to you as well, or not so much?
No, it is. It's we find ourselves, mate, in a place right now where we've got to be questioning why we're doing what we're doing. Has Declan made demands? Has Declan kind of instigated this because the possibility of a move? Tell you what, boss, I'd love to try and get forward a bit more. Yeah, all right, yeah, no worries. Let's, what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I'm worried that that's the case and that we're trying to.
But do you think Moyes would have to, in that situation, given Declan's role within the team, his importance to the club, do you think that kind of David Moyes would be, if what you're saying is correct, and we don't know whether it is or isn't, but do you think that David Moyes kind of has to acquiesce to that particular?
Yes, if I was in his shoes, I'd do exactly the same fucking thing, Rob. Like, he's your best player. You need to be building a team, a squad, a side, a starting 11, whatever you want to call it, a dynasty around this boy. I can quote you. I'll give you an example. Greatest quarterback in NFL history, Tom Brady.
Okay, I was going to say, listen, you're going to talk to me about NFL. You're talking to the wrong person. You said
Great
to me,
NFL.
you remember I said to you, I said, I know nothing about NFL. And you said, I'll tell you what, you'll have to come over and watch the Super Bowl with me and I'll explain whatever. It's like, good luck with that.
NFL, Tom Brady, look, Tom knows it, Mr. Burford. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback in NFL history. And
he's the one that
the New
retired
England
the other
Pats-
week, isn't he?
He is indeed, yes. The New England Pats built their roster around Tom Brady. They found what would complement Tom Brady. Now, they found a player in Julian Edelman to complement Brady's passes. Don't get me wrong, Edelman in his own right was a great player. Gronkowski, another fantastic player, but their strengths played into the hands of Tom Brady. Edelman, big, strong, fantastic receiver, which gave the throwing Brady, if you will, a target man to aim for, a guy that was strong and bullish, which then really did help Brady's throwing. You had the running back, I can't think of his name now, but it also helped with, it took the pressure off of Brady constantly trying to find the passes and the throws when he could just do a handoff to a young, spirited, speedy, running back to gain 6 or 7 yards and give Brady the chance of getting further down the field in a way of not having to throw. They built a dynasty around Tom Brady, and it worked. This guy was round 15th pick, I think. He wasn't even meant to be the sort of player that he became. It's crazy. Now, West Ham have a player in Declan Rice that, for me, it's the same fucking thing, Rob. Build a team around him. Find players that play into his strengths. We had a team last year where we played into Thomas Souček's strengths. And not a bad shout, Tom, but he's not a Brady, and neither is the next guy in your comment. Good players though. We played into Souček's strengths, and we allowed him to get forward. We allowed him to break the lines and arrive late, and we got the goals for it. But you've also got to try and find a way to acquiesce to your best player. And no disrespect, if we want to be able to continue developing as a team, if we want to continue taking those strides and using that momentum to take us forward, we have to keep Deck happy. I don't think there's any two ways about it. Now, if that means that we ask Souček not to do his role, then you've got to do it.
Would you be concerned, though, that it might make Thomas Souček unhappy, and it might get to a point where maybe Thomas Souček agitates to move on himself?
Yeah, I mean, just picked up on what Tom said. My bad, mate. Fucking knackered. Yeah, listen. Who do you lose, Souček or Rice?
Wow. You'd say in terms of what they probably bring the whole package is probably you'd say, well, if you had to make that choice, it would be Thomas Souček.
Yeah, and I think that's the way as a club they would look at it.
Only thing is, do you think that it's inevitable that we lose Declan Rice at some point anyway? So we're probably going to lose the pair of them.
But not if you like. Thing is, go back to Brady. They built this team around Tom Brady.
Hang on,
I got it.
Let's get rid of it. Oh, you got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Exterminate.
Fucking things. With Tom Brady, they built a dynasty around him, and then they stopped building that dynasty around him, and he left. He went to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay for a year built a team around Tom Brady, which went on to do what Tom Brady does. And fair play to him. Tom Brady was good down there. He got Gronk out of retirement because they knew that that's what it was going to take to have Brady playing as well as Brady does. That's what they did. That was the idea behind it. So now, you've got to think, well, like Mike says, give Rice what he wants. He's the best player we've had in 50 years. Give the boy what he wants. Let's keep him happy. We've got to keep him at the club somehow, Rob. And you know what? If that meant giving him a gold-plated dildo so he could fuck all the haters, I'm more than willing to give it to him.
To be fair, there's not many haters of Declan Rice that are on the claret and blue side of things. In fact, I don't even think there's, if we're being honest about it, I don't see that there's many fans of any club that actually hate Declan Rice.
No, they do. They hate him because he's not at their club.
I think, yeah, they probably hate the fact that he's not a member of their squad. I think if club allegiances are put to one side,
overrated, Rob.
Sorry?
A lot of people think he's overrated.
I think they're getting smaller in number by the match. I really do. I think that if you'd have gone back a year or two, I'd completely agree with that comment. There's a lot of people that would have been saying, Scott McTominay is better, or who else? Who's the other? Newcastle. No, what's his name? Longstaff.
Yeah, mate,
Longstaff's better. Yeah. Always trying to sort of make the comparison to one of their players and say that their player is better. But I think those numbers have gone down now. I think that the amount of people that wouldn't have Declan Rice in their squad is quite a small number. And I think that if you asked most football fans, honestly, would you take Declan Rice in your squad? Don't think you're going to get many that will turn around and say, nah, you're all right.
I'll just jump in and ask Stu if he wouldn't mind explaining himself. Just come back at me with what you mean by that. I'm not digging. I'm just asking. I want to know your opinion on that. I reckon at 40 odd, I don't think he can play there anymore, mate. I think if he knackered.
Would he do a better job than Diop?
I think he's about as fast as Dawson, so I'm a bit worried.
Oh dear. I just got to go back. I starred this one. When I sort of say about Thomas Souček not getting the goals that he did last season, and Tom brought this up, and it's an interesting point. We're averaging more goals a game than we did last season. So, although I say about Souček's not getting the goals, we as a team are better than we were this time last year. So, the ends justify the means, don't they?
Is that because we're getting into more dangerous positions with other players than we were? Like, you see what I mean? The likes of Bowen. Bowen seems to be getting forward and into the box a lot more this season. With his assists. Antonio started this season, like an absolute fucking bull in a china shop, and then that kind of died away. So I don't know whether that's got anything to do with I don't know whether that's got anything to do with that kind of stat, but it's certainly interesting. Andy, stop stealing my words. I've said this over and over again. I've said this over and over again that Declan Rice not only improves every Premier League team if he walks into their side, he improves, I'd say he probably improves every bar maybe 5 sides in the world at club level.
Yeah, see, Kent's just hit the nail on the head as what I think on it. I'd say it'll be a boring game. It's right though. We know it's coming.
Sorry, I was laughing at this one just quickly. I was just laughing. But yeah, Kent's right, and someone mentioned it earlier. I think it was Mike said that we struggle to break sides down when they set up like Watford are likely to set up tomorrow. We like to play our style of play is the fact that we like to sit back, let people knock the ball around, and then we hit them on the break. We don't tend to have an idea of how to split teams apart. That being said, Fornells did it in the 91st minute last night. on Saturday. So it's interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. So you said 3-1, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Well, as I say, I'm going 2-1. I think it's going to be boring. I'm going to be there tomorrow with my kids, and I think it's probably going to be one of those games where I could probably bring the old tartan blanket, put it over me lap, maybe sort of have a little pillow there, and I could probably have a nap. It'd probably be one of those games where it'd be really fucking boring. Hope I'm wrong.
Mr. Stu MC, if I may, I'm going to gather there's a possibility that you're not a West Ham fan. I'm not sure what gives me that idea.
Don't know.
Are you saying that Declan Rice is nowhere near Xabi Alonso? Are you telling me that he's nowhere near someone like Martinez or Goretzka? Because I tell you now, he has the ability to be far better than the three people you've mentioned. He really does have the ability to be better than any of those players you've just mentioned. Goretzka's fantastic. I rate him very highly. But I'm telling you now, this man here, for me, has just hit the nail on the absolute head. And I'll leave it with that.
I agree.
I'll leave it with that.
I think that's a perfect way to end this conversation, Duke.
That for me is absolutely on the money.
As usual.
You say prime Beckenbauer. I say I likened him on Saturday when I was trying to explain the goals to a couple of people after I'd left you, Rob. I likened it to one of my favourite goals that I think I'd ever seen. And we both know that was by another German in a World Cup.
Right.
For me, he dragged them on.
I'm just going to jump in on this one. I'm just going to jump in. I don't know what your allegiances are. An English Xhaka. Well, Xhaka gets sent off and carded regularly. Declan Rice is not that reckless. He just isn't. You're entitled to your opinion, as we're entitled to ours. Sorry?
Not if that's his opinion.
No, listen.
Sorry.
I might think what you think, and we might both think it's a bullshit opinion. But he is entitled to his opinion. I'm assuming that Stu Mac is a he and not a she. But no way is he an English Xhaka. He's much better than that. Anyway, guys, please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And Duke, what are they doing again with that bell? Remind me.
They're going to bash the bell.
Bash the bell.
Going to bash it.
Bash the bell. Guys, thanks for joining us, Duke. What are we?
We, as a club, are fucking massive.
Yeah, I'd say so. Come on, you Irons. No, wrong one. Wrong one. It's this one.